Third Hay, Jussive and Preterite, shortened forms. This is a short module, and it's a little bit complicated, but we don't need to memorize this. Just be aware that it's here so you know where to look when you want to figure out this issue here. What happens is this. In the preterite and the jussive, we have shortened forms. We saw this in the hiphil, in the strong, right? And in the third hay, we have shortened forms in all the binyan, except for hofal, because we don't actually have the jussive and the preterite in the hofal. But all the other ones, we do have a shortened form where the segel hay drops off. Okay, segel hay is the ending that we have in the imperfect. The jussive and the preterite are built on the imperfect, so this drops off. Now for the kal and the hiphil in particular, we have a number of options of different kinds of short forms you can get. They all drop the three hay, or the segel hay, but then there's some other things that can happen. And the question is, how do you tell when you have a kal and how do you tell when you have a hiphil? How do you sort them out? So here are the details. We'll look at them and then I'll summarize it. And don't worry, you don't have to know all these details. There's lots of little picky things here. If you look at these here, these are the rules for kal, okay? If you have a word like pata, which is obviously a three hay word, meaning to be simple, in the imperfect it'll have the segel hay, yifte, and one option is to simply drop the segel hay. Segel hay drops, okay? So yifte becomes vayift. Another option is to drop the segel hay, like we have in bana here, yivne. Bana becomes yivne in the imperfect. You drop the segel hay, and you get a helping vowel. Helping vowel segel under the first root letter. That's this letter here. Here you have a segel under the middle root letter, the nun, and here it's under the bait. Now I had said earlier that this shifts over, which is probably not a good way to think about it. This is simply a helping vowel that shows up. I don't know if it's related to this one or not, but it's on the different root letter. Okay? And actually we have an accent shift here as well. Yiven. So we have the possibility of a helping vowel. Another option is again, bachami here means to cry. Yivke means, or is the imperfect form. With segel hay drops. The prefix vowel can lengthen. Here we have a hidik, here we have a tzere. Okay, that's important. And sometimes even the dagesh lene will be retained. Like you see this dot here in the final kaf, that's a dagesh lene. I'm not sure how you would pronounce this. Yevk, I guess, because not ch, it's a hard sound. Yevk. I don't know. Kind of odd to see a dagesh lene and a shava in the same final form. Anyway, more importantly, the hidik can lengthen the prefix vowel. And finally, a word like kala, to be completed or to be finished, yech le, so segel hay in the imperfect, segel hay drops, so you know segel hay. We have our helping vowel, so helping vowel down here, I'm kind of going out of order, and we have the lengthening and an accent shift. So va yechel. So these are all possibilities. Let's just put this on ice for a moment. We'll move over and do the kal or do the hiphil, and then we'll come back and look at this or summarize it. So with the hiphil, we have two alternatives, two alternate apocryphated or shortened forms. Apocryphate means to cut off the bit at the end, so the hay gets cut off. And in my estimation, anyway, they roughly correspond to types 3 and 4. To these two types of the kal. That's just my observation. So what do we have? Well, pata becomes yafke, and the segel hay can drop, and the prefix vowel here is a patach. Okay? I guess maybe this isn't really, this is more like this one, type 1. Anyway, not a big difference between type 1 and type 3. So, you have the prefix vowel patach. Another possibility with a word like bana, which means to build. In the imperfect, it's yavne. The segel hay drops. It's a bit close here, but you can see the different words. The segel hay is dropped, and you have yeven. So here you have the helping vowel, and the prefix vowel has harmonized with the helping vowel. So our patach has changed to a segel, okay? Or you can just have it drop and still stay with your patach with no helping vowel. So this is really of this type. But if you have the helping vowel, then the prefix vowel can become like it. It'll harmonize with it. Now, the question is, well, one question is, why do we need to know this? The answer to that is, if you see one of these three forms, or one of these, if you see one of these shortened forms in a text, how do you know if it's cal or if it's hifil? Because they look quite similar. They're so short at the end that you've lost a lot of information. And the trick is to look at the beginning. You've got hidik, hidik, tsere, tsere. Okay? So if, for the cal, hidik is what we would expect, so that's normal. Be aware that it can also lengthen to a tsere. Then you know you have a cal. If you look over here at the hifil, patach is what we would expect, but then be aware that because of a segel helping vowel, the prefix vowel can harmonize to be the same as that segel helping vowel. So these prefix vowels will separate the cal from the hifil. And that's what I've summarized here. For the cal, you have hidik, which is what you would expect, but it can lengthen to tsere. For the hifil, you have patach, which is what you would expect, but because of harmonization with the segel helping vowel, it can also become a segel. So that is what I've done here for this module, is I've combined two of Ross's sections. He talks about the Jussive Preterite shortened forms for the cal, and there's a page and a half or so on that. Quite a lot of detail. You can look at section 36.2.1 for his discussion of shortened forms in the cal, and then he has section 36.5 where he talks about the shortened forms for the hifil. I've just combined them together, and I think what really matters is that you look at the prefix vowel. These are what you would expect: hidik for cal, patach for hifil. If you recognize that the hidik can lengthen to a tsere, and that in the hifil you can have harmonization with the segel helping vowel to get a segel prefix vowel, then you can keep them apart, and that saves you a lot of detail.